it is now time for us to talk about our main event of the evening, or at least the fight that we hope is going to be the main event. At the time that we record this, we're still not entirely sure what's going to be happening with Kamaru Usman. For anybody who is quite new to the show, Gilbert Burns unfortunately had to pull out of the main event. All indications seem to be that Jorge Masvidal is going to take this fight. So we're going to be recording this as if Masvidal has accepted that offer. If it doesn't work, we can have a quick laugh at this. But our main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman is taking on Jorge Masvidal. The welterweight title is on the line. Now this is a fight which a lot of fans, both casuals and hardcores, have been looking forward to for a long, long time.
Myself included. Absolutely. If this fight does go ahead, which I'm praying it does, then yeah, this could be something really, really special, to be honest. Whether you like Jorge Masvidal or you don't, one thing you can never say is he's never been in a boring fight in his life. So after the 2019 he was in, I mean, it depends on, because the last fight that Usman has, I think, was closer than the scorecards give. But if you take Covington out of the equation and say, let's leave him to fester for a little bit longer, then there is no better name at that weight class than Jorge Masvidal.
He's definitely, in terms of star power, he's definitely got it as well. I mean, he's the BMF. He's the no-nonsense, game-bred street Jesus who basically ended Ben Askren's UFC career in 5 seconds. What did you think of Masvidal's issues over pay? Because I think that did sour him with a lot of people, and as justified as he was to say, hey, I want to be paid more money, and there's been a lot of arguments about that over the past 2 or 3 months. When you are game bred, when you are street Jesus, and then you're starting to haggle over fight pay, it's not a good look. So I think one of the good things that's come out of Masvidal taking this fight is nobody's arguing about that anymore. All of the negativity that may have come his way over those past 2 or 3 weeks has been completely erased by him taking this on, 6-7 days notice?
Crazy. I mean, if he does, obviously, the fight, then that's going to put his stock up massively. Because he's effectively, I wouldn't say saved the card, because the card is fantastic, but he has stepped up when he was needed, and he's absolutely put a massive name on this big Fight Island card, isn't it? Because you know Dana White, of all the Fight Island cards, this is the one that has the most star power. So this is the one that Dana will want to save, and it will be the one that we talked about, we alluded to it earlier, that Dana will open his checkbook for. I have no doubt about that.
And yourself, Claire?
Yeah, it looks like the fight's happening. Ariel said 12:18 p.m. That's like 30 minutes ago. That apparently they're just doing testing right now, COVID tests. So if they clear for that, then the official posters and all that will probably go out. So it literally depends on a disease. So if Masvidal's clean, the fight will probably happen. It looks like it's a done deal.
Well, let's certainly hope so, and fingers crossed that Masvidal can get through all those tests. Obviously, we've had a lot of fights which have been affected by COVID. We've had a lot of personal issues as well with, obviously, Khabib Nurmagomedov's dad, and we send our condolences to him and all of his family at this time. In terms of this fight itself, we'll talk about Kamaru Usman first and foremost, because I got a lot of blowback from the preview at 245. I was very dismissive of the fight with Colby Covington. I just thought it's just going to be a wrestling match. Are the UFC making the right call having it headline when you got Max Holloway and Volkanovski, which is guaranteed to be a more entertaining fight? I have to say, I was proven wrong. I hold my hands up, I did get it wrong with that one. Covington versus Usman surpassed all of my expectations. It was a hell of a fight.
It certainly was. I mean, Colby, again, whether you like him or not, is another kettle of fish, but he absolutely proved that he is in the premium division. He's where he needs to be. And like I said, for me, while I don't think I would have been totally in the camp of a rematch, but that wouldn't have been a terrible decision. I mean, if Masvidal doesn't take this fight and Colby steps up, is there going to be a lot of people that are going to be against that? Probably not.
Not at all, because they've got the built-in beef. The first fight was great, and you can make an argument if Colby makes one or two adjustments, he could very well be winning that fight.
Yeah, because everyone thought he was a wrestler, which he still is, but his striking looked phenomenal in that fight.
And I think as well from Usman's perspective, because there was a lot of people out there that thought this guy is just a lame prayer. I mean, I've seen a couple of reports that were calling him the new John Fitch, which I think's maybe a bit harsh.
Oh, that's really harsh.
So for him to show that kind of striking, and it was powerful striking as well, I think he went a long way to rebuilding his stock. I mean, just saying this guy is not just a wrestler. This guy is a proper threat anywhere that the fight goes.
Well, didn't he break his jaw?
He broke Colby Covington's jaw.
Early on as well, wasn't it?
I think second round he did it.
Yeah, so definitely massive amount of potential and power in his shots.
Well, yeah, as you guys said, in that fight, he definitely proved that he was a pure UFC champion. Like, he was he could be in the top brass. Like, he wasn't just a lay and pray John Fitch type. Like he said, like, he can put on those championship type fights where he gets those big knockouts against those top opponents. So, yeah, he's definitely coming to his top form.
Because he rocked Tyron Woodley as well in their fight. I think a lot of people forget that. They just felt that it was just Usman out-wrestling him, pinning him against the fence. But I especially remember that fourth round. That was a 10-8 round. And he came very close to finishing Woodley in that fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that was extremely close.
What do you make of Usman's decision to train with Trevor Whitman? Because we're talking about the improvements in Usman's striking. Surely it's going to be getting even better if he's training with Whitman and you see the work he's been doing with Gagey and Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. Trevor Whitman is an elite coach, to be fair. If you look at some of the stuff that he's done lately in the last 6 months, some of the fighters that he's took on, phenomenal.
And I don't believe that Whitman doesn't have an out-and-out gym in the same way that someone like Greg Jackson does. He's very picky about who he chooses to train. So if Trevor Whitman sees something in you that he wants to say, hey, I want to take you under my wing, it must be a sign that you've got a lot about you.
Yeah, there's untapped potential in Usman, 110%. I don't think he's hit his peak at all. Again, he's a product of the Ultimate Fighter. He looked good on that as well. I think that was the year that they did it slightly differently. I think it was Black Zillions versus American Top Team, if I recall. Yeah, so that was a totally different format, and he looked phenomenal. I mean, he fought a guy called Hammer Hassan. I've mispronounced that, I apologise. In the final, and he'd been knocking people out left, right and centre in the house, and he dominated him quite handsomely. So, and he's only improved. If you look at where he started, his first UFC fight, where he is now, it's massive, huge.
I seem to have remembered reading somewhere as well that, I mean, Usman's only 2 fights away from tying GSP's welterweight record in terms of like the amount, the most wins in a row.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Wow.
So he's been very active as well, which is good to see from a champion, because I think champions can start getting a bit picky when they get the belt. That's saying, oh, I'm going to be fighting every 9 or 10 months instead of every 3 or 4. So he's staying as active as he can do, which I think is a really good thing to see.
So do I.
One of the big issues that come with short notice fighters, however, is they can spend a lot of time training for one type of fighter, looking at their strengths, looking at their weaknesses. Obviously, with Gilbert Burns, he would have been preparing for the jiu-jitsu game and the sort of out-and-out brawling style that Gilbert's been applying in his recent fights. With Masvidal, it's a pure boxer.
I mean, I suppose the good thing about him training for Gilbert Burns is Gilbert Burns only fought 4 weeks ago, so he hasn't had months and months to prepare, if that makes sense. So that's going to help him, but no, Gilbert Burns is a completely different striker, and the way he does things to someone like Jorge Masvidal, absolutely. Jorge Masvidal's distance, his power exchanges, just the way he moves, is a totally different kettle of fish.
And now we need to talk about Gamebred himself taking this fight on 7 days' notice. We've all been through the Jorge Masvidal story over the past 12 months. A lot of people thought he lost that fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at UFC 217. and then just completely disappeared for 18 months, went on a reality TV show, and just completely rebuilt his approach to the sport. Out comes Gamebred, looking like Street Jesus as he does. Nobody wanted to fight Darren Till at Fight Night London, knocks him out, then knocks out Ben Askren in 5 seconds, and then becomes the BMF. 2019, you could argue Adesanya also had a good 2019, but for most people, it was Masvidal.
Yeah, for me, Masvidal takes 2019 just by the standard, not just the performances, but also the finishes as well. I mean, I don't think obviously the Nate Diaz thing, it was a finish, but it wasn't something that we could have done without. But if you look at the Ben Askren, that's going to go down in infamy, not just for the fastest knockout, but just how nasty it was and how just brutal it was in terms of a finish.
Yeah, I do agree with you on the finishes, but I think Izzy just reclaiming the title and just the run that he had that year was just perfect. Like, that's just a perfect resume in the UFC, really. Like, he had a perfect year.
Because it's tricky to say. I would favour Masvidal considering how he came from nowhere to be at the top in 12 months.
That's true.
I think Adesanya had the better fight. I think the performance against Whittaker was fantastic. And obviously the match with Kelvin Gastelum, which in my opinion was fight of the year. But no, I favour Masvidal between the two. In terms of Masvidal as a fighter, again, the boxing has always been the great thing for him. And I think I often thought that Masvidal for a long time during his career was a little bit of a coaster. He could have maybe gone for the finish, been a bit more aggressive, but instead was trying to leave it in the hands of the judges, just played a little bit too safe, and that's how he ended up getting so many split decisions going against him. He's become a lot more no-nonsense since then. He's become much more aggressive. We saw that against Nate Diaz in the first round. I mean, he hurt Nate really badly. That fight could have been over in about 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Just total aggression, yeah, absolutely agree. He's just total... He just seems more urgency is required, to be fair, since he's come back. He's more urgent. He knows... He doesn't... We say it all the time, don't leave it in the hands of the judges, and it doesn't seem like he wants to at all.
A bit of a concern I do have with Usman, though, and this is obviously going to be a factor now that he's not with Usman, with Masvidal, is now that Usman is going to be fighting Masvidal, Usman is going to be thinking, hey, I don't need to fear what this guy can do on the ground anymore. So he could maybe go back to more of a wrestling style base that found him so much success against Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia and so forth on his way to the top. Has Usman got the takedown defense? Not Usman. I'm getting them mixed up here. I'm on a real mess right now. Has Masvidal... This is what happens when you don't have notes for your fighters prepped. Has Masvidal got the takedown defense to neutralise Usman? Because I saw what happened against Damian Maia. Maia got on his back straight away.
Yeah.
Yes, Masvidal found a little bit of success later on in the first round, but in my opinion, that was a fairly comfortable Damian Maia victory. And then I think Masvidal's strong, but I don't think he's strong enough to deny Usman, especially in the clinch. Usman is a nightmare when it comes to those clinch situations.
Mm-hmm. It's also a difficult question to answer because you don't know what kind of shape he's in, because obviously he's taken it on 6 days' notice. So you would like to think that he's not an unintelligent man. He's gonna think he's in some kind of shape, but is his shape the kind of shape you want to be in to be fighting Usman on Fight Island? And obviously, what also you've got to consider as well is someone we haven't mentioned at all tonight so far is how hot it's going to be in that arena, because that is going to be insane. I mean, in terms of timing for fights, aren't they doing it fighting early in the morning rather than late at night? From my understanding,
I believe the main event started around 5 o'clock their time in the morning.
So what will be our time on that one?
I think for us it'll be about...
Obviously Clay's on Canada time, so he's on...
Yeah, is it going to be like normal
It'll be normal pay-per-view time for the US-Canadian Canadian market. So it's going to be a bit similar to what happened with 204 when Bisping fought Henderson.
Oh, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Which is one of the most surreal experiences when you watch that pay-per-view back, because you've got like loads of bleary-eyed Mancurians just sort of like half-hearting everything, just like,
My friend was there as well. He got the first train home at 11 o'clock. So yeah, my friend was there.
Hell of a card, mind you. I've said that for a long time.
Full of finishes.
And the main event as well was a great fight. Really underrated fight as well. Hopefully this one's going to be underrated as well, because Usman is going to need to fight the performance of his career to try and get this done. Because I think, yes, we've seen what he's able to do with his striking. We've seen the big knockouts. We've seen what he did to Darren Till, Cowboy Cerrone, Ben Askren. In my opinion, if Masvidal's going to win this fight, it's going to be early. I can maybe see him just going balls to the wall and just thinking, hey, I'm taking this on 7 days' notice. I've got nothing to lose. I'm just going to go all out and try and get the early finish. If he doesn't, the longer this fight goes on, the more I favour Usman. And I could possibly see Usman. I could see Usman winning this fight 50-45 or finishing a tied Masvidal late on.
Yeah, I think the longer this fight, I think it's got to, just because he's got a full camp behind him. He's got to, just for that reason. He's got to be the favourite the longer it goes. Can Gamebred pull out a haymaker in round 5? Of course he can, absolutely. Is it harder to do when you're tired? Of course it is. So, yeah, I think Usman is going to be he's definitely the advantage out of the two of them right now, because he's had the full camp and we don't know what kind of shape Jorge's in, do we, to be fair? So we probably won't know until the fight.
If the fight happens.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Currently, the benchmark when it comes to like short notice title fights is Michael Bisping versus Luke Rockhold, UFC 199. Similar situation. 9-10 days notice. Bisping jumps off from a Hollywood film set and then knocks out Rockhold in the first round. If Masvidal wins this fight, does that surpass it?
In my opinion, yes, and only because of kind of the situation that we find ourselves in with Fight Island and like flying out there as well, and obviously the atmosphere. And I mean, obviously these guys are flying out to Yas Island. When are they getting there? Do we know when they're getting there? How many days they get to acclimatise? I mean, we don't know this.
I believe every fighter bar Usman is in Fight Island already.
Yeah, because that was my next question, because I don't know. You know what I mean? That's a different ball game. If he goes over there, he's going to have less time to acclimatise than everybody else. So for me, just for that reason, then I would say it would surpass it, just for the situation and the kind of the nasty situation we find ourselves in worldwide. And for me, it would surpass it.
I have heard one theory. I don't know where you stand on this one. I've heard a theory that if the logistics of getting Usman and Masvidal are too much, that they can't get to Abu Dhabi in time, that they'll hold the majority of the card over on Fight Island and then do the main event at the Apex.
That's crazy. What? I haven't heard that one, no.
Well, there was a story that they considered doing that for John Jones and Gustafsson, because that was going to be in Vegas originally. And one of the ideas was that they would hold every fight bar the main event over in Vegas and then do Jones and Gus in California.
That's WrestleMania, isn't it? What happened this year? That is WrestleMania kind of standard. What happened this year? Pre-recorded.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. Seeing John Anik be like, "All right, guys, back to you in Florida," and then they just travel across the world.
2 different announcers have to fly Bruce Buffer and someone else over. Where's Bruce Buffer going to be? Fight Island. Someone else is going to be there.
So yeah, so I'm favouring Usman for this one. Where do you two stand?
For me, just because there's so many question marks over Jorge, I'm going to say Usman as well. But I think I would favour Usman anyway. But I think I'd love to see Street Jesus win this. I think it'd be phenomenal. Can you imagine? You'd never shut him up.
It would be an amazing story.
I mean, as long as he brings his BNF belt over, I think that'd be fantastic, because he needs to walk out with that 100%.
And yourself, Claire?
Well, I think just because this is just so ridiculous and just all the situation that's going on right now, I'm gonna say Street Jesus. Screw it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he's gonna win it. Screw it. If he makes it to the octagon, if they announce like they show off the posters and everything, he's gonna win. That's my prediction. Destiny.
Can you imagine
I believe
how
in
difficult
destiny.
it would be for Dana to deal with now if we actually won? Dana would absolutely hate that.